Jacob, listen.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm turning up leads, all right? But the last thing this town needs is to get into a panic.
Go ahead.
People feel safe in this town, and I need to keep it that way.
If you have a suspect, I'm the first one who should know about it. I don't want to hear it from Evan.
Hey, all right. And as soon as I do, you will be the first one to tell.
So what's the judge rule?
Give me a minute there, bud. Okay, I got Jacob mod. Did you want to come up? Okay, I got Jacob mod.
You wore the uniform and helped to start a life, knowing the freedoms you fought for are ingrained in the oath you swore to uphold. Now Blake Masters is running for Senate, saying he put your freedom in the hands of government, like the right to make your own family planning decisions.
Absolutely no worse.
Even in cases of rape and incest,
You make it illegal and you punish doctors.
even when they're saving a woman's life, could be your wife, your daughter, or someone in uniform right now. He's just too extreme.
Yeah. When you say to saving 20 to 60% off department store prices every day, you're saying to savings that make your dollars stretch. At Ross, yes for less.
Okay.
Any job at Amazon can turn into a higher paying career. For employees looking for security today, we offer good pay, health care on day one, and the flexibility to spend time with your family while making a living. For opportunity tomorrow, free technical training moves employees into higher paying jobs in fields like software engineering and robotics.
My salary from day one has increased probably around 3 to 4 times.
At Amazon, today is just the start, and tomorrow is what you make of it.
Without enough trucks on the road, prices on everyday goods are way too high. Here's the problem. Government red tape can get in the way of hiring enough drivers. Nationwide, we're about 80,000 truckers short. That's why I'm working with Republicans to cut the unnecessary regulations, get these jobs filled, and bring down prices.
Anytime you want, you can put your channels in there. Because you're now mod.
Listen to me. Just asking me.
There's a practice, there's a judicial system within the jail that
Don't think it's going to do you any good.
yeah, these people are in there for life too. What they got to lose.
Who are they going to believe? You or their buddies working in there? I mean, I'm all about
Hey, there those.
whatnot, but I wonder if that was his family. And I recognize the district attorney and lawyers, but
Yeah, you did. It's all your fault.
I sound like I'm in a tunnel waiting on a cord to come in today from my
It seems to be working fine.
Good afternoon, everyone. Here to have a little press conference to discuss some events that happened today. So we District Attorney Sue Opera, Chief and Counsel of the Waukesha Police Department, also David Sorensen, Virginia, David Sorensen, and we're going to see a other also present with
and Mark and Lou.
Sorry, I didn't take it. Oh, she has been amazing. She handed you his ass yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's great. You know, we appreciate the jury for their work and dedication to justice. Commend police officers and citizen witnesses who testified or were prepared to testify and asked to relive the events of that horrific day. We are satisfied that this defendant has been held accountable for his actions. Now faces in prison.
Hello. Oh shit! I got the amplifier turned up way too high. Hello.
How you feeling?
I'm not doing too bad.
Oh, that's good.
Well, my insurance company won't pay for the new prescription I have for muscle relaxers, so I'm having to take ibuprofen, which I'm not supposed to take because I have a heart condition. But it's the only thing that helps me with pain. And they say take Tylenol, but Tylenol don't do shit for me. Am I the only person on here? Oh, it says
So
three
far,
people. Oh,
yeah.
a couple people
There's a couple people in the
chat. Yeah, I see them.
Mm.
Yeah, Miss Mandy's got a live going talking about the trial right now at the same time. I kind of snuck out of there without saying anything.
Yeah, as she put in her title, I have things to say. And she did what she normally does. So what things does she have to say? That's where I got lost. I don't know. Don't matter what she names it. It's hers. I mean, I just come up and bullshit with people.
Yeah, I saw you went live, and like I said, I hopped over here.
I'm so happy Daryl Brooks got guilty on everything.
Oh yeah, it was a done deal. Come on, they caught him red-handed. None of his excuses were gonna get past anybody.
What I liked is he got found guilty on the bail jumpings and the aggravated battery on his girlfriend or wife or ex-wife, whoever she was.
Baby mama, something like that.
Yeah, that he beat.
Now, was that the same one that testified, or was that a different one?
You know, I don't know because I missed the
Yeah, I didn't pay that much attention to it either because the dude was just so irritating.
Oh God, I know. Can't handle much more stupid of these people.
Yeah.
And you got the other one that's being a pain in the royal butt. He's going to sue everybody.
Who's that?
Chili.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, I just get tired of hearing about Chili after a while. Especially everybody's got to repeat, oh, he chickened out from the fight with that guy that was going to kick his ass. I would kick his ass myself, but, you know, it's like, man, I don't blame him for chicken shit now. The other dude was way bigger than he was, and he was an experienced fighter. I wouldn't go in there and get my ass beat just for, you know. Stupid fucking reasons.
Chili talked the talk, but he sure didn't walk the walk.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's that makes him a chicken shit. That makes him a chicken shit. But
I mean,
actually backing out of the fight means he's got more brains than I thought he did.
he showed up and said, I don't want to fight you, but put all the proceedings I got towards St. Jude's. And he let him sign the belt. That would have been more man than what he did. So, if he would have just gone there, said, no, I don't want to fight you. So, you still there? Did you mute yourself?
Sorry, someone walked in my room to talk to me about.
That's what I thought.
I had to
figured
mute the
something
thing.
happened.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I realized Chili picked that fight, and like I said, you pick a fight and you don't show up, that does make you a chicken shit. But
Yeah.
Picking a fight with somebody you know is going to kick your ass and then not showing up, you're a chicken shit, but you're a smart chicken shit.
Well, see, I think when Chili picked the fight with him, he didn't realize that Chad had all that experience.
Oh, I don't think he
Yeah.
intended. I don't think he intended to fight him at all. He made all kinds of excuses, and then whenever Chad arranged the fight and everything, he realized the only thing he could do is chicken shit out.
Yeah, but I don't think he quite knew exactly all of experience that Chad had and exactly how big he really was. Until
No, like I
after
said, I think. Okay, you saw that. Did you see that video here recently where Chili was on Hollywood Boulevard and this guy was harassing him?
Oh,
and
God,
then
yeah.
eventually he chased the guy down the street. But then all of a
Mhm.
sudden that other dude stood up to him and he fucking backed down.
Mhm.
I think he just likes to talk, but he can't really back it up.
Oh, yeah, I know. He would rather try
Yeah, I know a lot of
to
people
sue
like that.
everybody.
Yeah.
He'd rather try to sue them.
I know this whole family of people that their stepbrother was actually like my best friend, and then he had like 4 or 5 stepbrothers, and they all thought they were like really tough guys. One of them was a legitimate tough guy, and the rest of them they just thought they were tough guys. And there was one brother that was a couple years older than me, and he talked shit all the fucking time. Now, I'm a lot bigger than he is, but I just let it slide. It's like, I don't care if he talks shit, just go ahead. And if you think you're a tough guy, talk your tough guy shit. But where I drew the line is, well, the first time that we really, he wanted to test me is we were in a pool and I told him he wanted to start, playing, fucking dunking. And I says, nah, dude, I don't play that shit, man. I almost drowned one time. I don't find that to be funny at all.
No.
And he kept doing it. So eventually I just held him under the water until I knew that, like, okay, if I don't let him up now, he's going to fucking drown. I let him out and I said, are you done? And he said, no. So I stuck him back under the water and held him back down for about a minute and let him back up. And I said, you done? He says, yeah, I'm done. And he didn't get the message though, And we were standing by my buddy's pickup truck one day, and he come up and tried to put me in a headlock. And I told him, I said, dude, there's 2 things I don't tolerate. I said, people choking me and people pulling my hair. You want to piss me off? Try to choke me or pull my hair.
Yeah.
And he did it again. And I told him, I says, dude, you do it one more time, I'm going to throw you in the back of this pickup truck. And there was a bunch of trash in the back of the pickup truck. And like a dumbass, he come up from behind and did it again. And I literally lifted him up over my head and give him like a suplex into the back of the pickup truck. And after he got limped out of the back of the pickup truck, he suddenly realized that I could have done that to him anytime I wanted to. And he said, "Why did you let me get away with talking shit all the time?" I says, "Because it was just shit talk. Shit talk don't bother me at all. I've heard it my whole life. You know, people talk shit to me all the time, and I just ignore it. But then you press it, and that's it."
Okay, Prince. No problem.
I don't really know much about the. Do you know much about the background of that Brooks guy? Was he?
He had.
He's like a career criminal.
Yeah. He had some domestic violence. I know he's got kids. I heard he's even got a grandkid. His 15-year-old, I think it's his daughter, that is pregnant and has, not pregnant, but has a kid. And from what I gather, he got somebody pregnant that was only 15. So, you know, it was a mess. And then he made that stupid rap video. Oh man, that was
That.
It was beyond bad.
Yeah, I didn't pay that much attention to the trial. The dude irritated me.
Well, I kind of did, but I also went around. There's a couple groups I'm on Facebook with about the frauditors and the soft-sits and that. And I was posting in there too, so I didn't really watch a whole lot of it, but I was bound and determined to watch the verdict.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering if that guy, if he ever did, yeah, the judge is kind of cute. I was wondering if that guy ever did any like soft-sit shit. Oh boy, there's somebody I got to fucking boot. You're out of here.
Yeah.
All I did was remove the message. I got to get rid of this fucker.
I feel special. I just got porn botted.
All I can do is time them out. That's the only thing I'm allowed to do.
I feel special.
Oh, the Prince Jedi Master's got a wrench too. So I usually watch these lives from the StreamYard, and then if I have to do some business, I'll jump back over. I have YouTube open on another channel.
Yeah.
We raised you one. Yes. I didn't know if you had a wrench or not, Jedi Master. So
I just gave him one.
Okay. So I went over there to take care of it.
Yeah, I blocked him, so he's out.
Okay, cool.
But I feel special. I got porn botted, so I feel really special now.
Hey, I had this weird thing happen to me. I went to the doctor the other day, and they gave me a prescription that my insurance wouldn't pay for. And I get a text message. It says it's from my doctor, my doctor's office. And it says, review your latest prescription. And they had all my information. They said, they said, click on this link, and it said, verify your birth date. So I did. It was called, oh man, what's it called? RX Inform.
Mm-hmm.
And they had all my information, and it said with this card I could get the medication that my insurance won't pay for at half price. But I was like, what is this? So I called my doctor's office. They said they had nothing to do with it. And I got a hold of Humana, and they said they ain't got nothing to do with it. And I called my pharmacy, and they said they ain't got nothing to do with it. So I don't know how this person intercepted my information. But
well, it's easy enough to get your information.
Well, how would they know? How would they know what a doctor prescribed to me and how much it cost and all that stuff? Now I looked it up, and according to the internet, it's a legitimate business and stuff. So I don't know. It might, but I'm I'm just very leery about the whole thing. I eventually blocked them from contacting me again. My doctor's supposed to be. Yeah, I'm on disability too. My doctor is supposed to be giving me another prescription for something that they actually cover.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they gave me the same muscle relaxer. They gave me a prescription for it when I went to the emergency room. And I had to pay for it. And then they gave me a 5-day supply just so I could get back to my primary care physician. So he wrote me a 10-day, but they won't pay for it. If it comes down to it, fuck that. I'm not going to go pay for it. Just goddamn Motrin does the job. And it's not as bad as it was when it first happened anyway. When it first happened, I was having these muscle spasms like every 3 or 4 minutes.
Oh, yeah, I know them.
And now I can't really get too comfortable, but luckily my left ankle, the swelling's gone down in it a little bit. So now I only got the one problem with it's kind of like my hip. You know, it's like, and it every once in a while, it's like, son of a bitch.
That's strange because I've been having a little bit of hip problem too, my right hip.
Well, as the weather gotten a bit colder there?
Yeah, it's gotten a little colder.
Yeah, it's unseasonably cold at night here, although it's warmed up now. It's actually pretty warm right now.
Yeah, during the day it's around 70, 75, actually 70, 71. But it's been dropping down to 40.
It's 83 and extremely humid here.
No, see, it's only about 64 here right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go visit my great niece in Phoenix in January. She wanted me to come up this year. I went and visited her last year, but she lives on the 3rd floor apartment, and they don't have any elevators where she's at. And until I got my breathing better, there was no way I was going to be able to climb 2 flights of stairs to get to her apartment. Last time I went and visited her, I was somewhat healthy, and I still had a hard time.
Yeah, me and sisters don't go too well either. I mean, I could do a couple, but I got to do too many of them.
Well, I was getting to where I was getting winded taking a shower.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. When I first moved to Florida, I had long hair down to my waist, and the trip out here from Louisiana, which is only like 850 miles. If I would have done it in one day, I probably would have survived the trip. But we stopped in a place in the Florida Panhandle that was about halfway, called Defoniac Springs. We stopped there for the night, and then the next day we had about 100 miles to go, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to make it. I don't think I'm going to make it. I don't think I'm going to make it. And I made it, but 2 days later I was in the hospital. Spent 2 weeks in there because everything flared up. What it was the seat in my truck that I had. I think it cut off the circulation to my feet, which is bad enough because I have congestive heart failure and AFib, so I don't have good circulation to begin with. And that cut off my circulation to the point to where both of my feet, my ankles swelled up to like twice their normal size. And it took, like I said, I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. That was the longest I've been in the hospital for the congestive heart failure. But
Go ahead.
As soon as I got out, I had my head shaved. Just because I needed to cut back on the time in the shower, I don't know if you have longer hair or not, but
Yes, I do.
Yeah, long hair is kind of hard to take care of. You can spend a lot more time washing it and everything else. And it's like, well, I need to be able to get in and out of the shower, so the hair's got to go.
Well, I was on oxygen before we had the fire, but I was only on like 2. And then when I had the fire, I had to put it up to 4. And that was in 2019. And took a long time. I was always winded,
Yeah.
taking a shower, just walking across the floor.
Yep. 2 years
Well,
ago,
then
they. Oh, go ahead and finish. You were talking first.
Then when we moved where we're at now, I've been talking with my doctor, and he is weaning me off the oxygen. In the last week, I have not used oxygen, and I got one of them little meters. It's been staying about 97, 98 without the oxygen, so looks like I could get off of that, and maybe that'll help with my throat, the scar tissue, and that. So
Yeah. Well, about 2 years ago, it was like 2019. Was the last time I was actually in the hospital, and it was because I could barely breathe. As a matter of fact, I was going to a doctor's appointment, and I had a nurse practitioner at that time, and she says, "Why are you breathing so hard?" And it's like, I just walked in from the car. She says, "How far did you walk? About 20 feet?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "I think you're getting ready to have a heart attack. I'm going to call an ambulance."
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Do you need to?" She goes, "Yeah, I don't want you to, have a heart attack here in the office. I think you need to go to the hospital." And I went to the hospital, and they took me in, and I stayed for like a week. And they were doing some tests on me, and they would put that pulse oximeter, the thing that does your heartbeat and your oxygen level.
Yeah.
Okay, my oxygen was fine. As soon as I started walking, my oxygen dropped down to like 50.
Yep. That's what
So-
mine was doing.
So when they put me out, they gave me it's a oxygen machine. I forget what it's called. You probably know the name of it. It pumps oxygen into you, and then you have oxygen tanks that you're supposed to carry around with you when you're not on it.
That's just regular oxygen with a mask.
Well, yeah, well, it was
Or did you have it in nasal cannula?
the nasal thing.
Um,
No, not a
was it
C,
porta-
not a CPAP. This was actually
no,
like
no.
an oxygen generator.
Yeah. And you carried it around so it was portable.
Well, no. When I was carrying it around, I had oxygen. I had big oxygen tanks,
I got
and then
that.
I had small oxygen tanks that I would have to carry around with me.
Okay. I can't think of the name.
Well, whatever it was, when I went to go
Yeah.
see my cardiologist, he said, "You don't need that." He goes, "You tell them people to come get that crap. You don't need any of that stuff." And he gave me another prescription for a medication called digoxin, and it's strengthened my heart enough to where I get plenty of oxygen now, even if I'm walking, whatever, my oxygen level doesn't drop. But yes, I did the CPAP for a while because I've had chronic sleep apnea forever. But unfortunately, the CPAP, you have to put a little moisture in there, or your nose and your everything else will dry out. Well, unfortunately, that didn't work well with my lungs. I started coughing up fluid all the time. It basically started giving me like pneumonia symptoms. They tried another thing called a BiPAP, and that didn't work for me either. So I said, one of these things is going to kill me, but at least if I just don't, I don't use this thing anymore, at least I'll be able to get some little bit of sleep at night. Actually, my sleep apnea, I think, it's not nearly as bad as it was, because I can sleep now that my breathing's gotten better. I can sleep 6-8 hours at a time now, and I was not able to do that before.
I haven't been on a CPAP in 4 years. So,
Yeah, I quit doing the CPAP a few years ago. I just said, nah, screw that.
so I got off of that.
Of course, now they said that my doctor said that the reason I have congestive heart failure is it might be related to the fact that I quit doing the CPAP, because I was doing it when I lived in Los Angeles, and then when I moved to Louisiana, I didn't go on a Medicare, whatever, right away. I got a job. I was working. I was doing okay. Then all of a sudden my feet started swelling up. I went to the emergency room. They said, you have AFib, you have congestive heart failure. And I eventually got, signed up for shit, got over it, primary care physician. I went over and saw him, and I says, well, what do you think, Doc? When can I go back to work? He says, never. He says, you have chronic AFib, and it was probably caused by you weren't using your CPAP. You have high blood pressure, and you haven't been taking your blood pressure. You quit taking your blood pressure medication. He said, you did this to yourself. And he says, between your back problems, and because he's looking at my whole health record and stuff, he says, between your back problems and your thing, he goes, you should be able to get disability, no problem. He goes, sign up for disability. Well, they don't have state disability in Louisiana, even though I was working, so I figured that's what I was going to be signing up for. So I went straight down to the Social Security office. You know how people say, oh, yeah, they don't not want to never give it to you, right? I've signed all the papers, filled everything out. About a month later, they said, you need to come back into the thing and fill out some more forms. And I'm thinking, yeah, this is just a waste of time. And then when I got there, they said, oh, you've already been approved for Social Security disability, but it doesn't kick in for we're going to go ahead and let it 4 months, because the last 2 months you really didn't work enough to be. So we're going to, backdate everything. So you're going to get it in 4 months, and we're going to give you supplemental Social Security up until that point, which it's only $800 a month, but it's better than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that December, first I got a check for a couple $1,000. I forget what it was. It was it was almost $3,000. I got a check for $3,000, and I used it on a down payment for most $2,000 of it on down payment for a pickup truck, and then I got 2 disability checks before the end of the month. So I went from being flat broke to having a nice chunk of change in my bank account.
Well, I went down in between my drug addiction, and I had also been diagnosed with congestive heart failure in my back and everything. I went down to get Social Security disability. I filled everything out. A week later, they called me and says you'll be receiving. It took about 5 months before I received anything. I was approved right away. And I got a check total for $25,000. And that was a long time ago, so I can't quite remember. And I got started at around $700 and something a month. I'm now up to $8.5. So
yeah. Well, I luckily I had worked long enough to collect Social Security, and it's when I turned 67, because I was born in 1960. If I'd been born in 1950, I would be on Social Security already. But since I was born in 1960, when I turned 67, which is another four and a half years from now, I will still get the same exact amount of money. It will just change from Social Security disability to regular Social Security. Prince Jedi Master, does a CPAP help you with your sleep seizures?
No, I get pseudo seizures.
Yes, I'm an old man. I was born. Let's see. Eisenhower was still the president when I was born. He did. Oh, that's good. January of 1960.
See, I was born in August of '65, so we're not that far.
You're the same age as my little sister.
Now,
Unfortunately, she passed away in 1990.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, she had cystic fibrosis.
Oh.
It was devastating when she died, but I'm not a religious person. But when I went to her funeral, she was a regular church member, and the guy from the church knew her real well, and he did the whatever you call it, eulogy, whatever.
Eulogy.
And he said, I know a lot of you are very saddened by her passing, but if you think about it and you're a believer, she's in a better place now. And would you want her to still be alive so she could cough some more, so she could, be frail? So, she was constantly in the hospital. When she was young, between like 5 and 10, she was like real sickly. And then she improved real good up into her early 20s. Alive, had a good job, and then she just went downhill from there. Yeah, I'm real claustrophobic too, Prince Jedi. They tried to put me in a what's that thing where they put you in? Is that MRI where they put you inside that machine? It looks like a coffin. I couldn't do it. Well, first off, I don't think I could fit in it, and then the claustrophobic part was just too much for me.
You'd be surprised who could fit in it, and they have open MRIs now.
Well, I was 400 pounds when they tried to put me in it, so I couldn't fit in it.
Yeah.
And then they sent me to an open MRI, and it was too narrow.
Yeah.
I couldn't get my big fat butt inside of it. And actually, since I've lost a lot of weight, my back problems have kind of gone away until this started happening with the spasms.
Yeah, I think my husband's oldest had everybody. He was born in 1954.
Same age as my older brother.
He just turned 68 in September.
And is he also from California?
No, he is originally from Illinois.
Ah.
And then he moved out to California, San Pedro and that. Then he moved to Vegas, and he basically was a person from Vegas. That's basically where he calls home. But November, I think it's the 21st, he will be celebrating 31 years clean.
Cool. Yeah, my nephew grew up, one of my nephews grew up, or a great nephew actually, grew up in Vegas, and he fell into a bad crowd. It was he fell in with a bunch of rich kids. His dad was making enough money where he could live. His dad and his stepmother were making enough money where they could live in a upper middle class neighborhood. And there was obviously some, how would I say? I hate to use the term, but entitled youngsters that lived in that neighborhood. And he fell in with a bad crowd. And then next thing you know, he was doing all kinds of stuff. And as he's gotten older, it's like, dude, you realize that stuff you did was just stupid, right? I says, that's going to, and one thing they did, and when he told me about it, I was like, how stupid could you be? He said they went up to Utah, St. George, Utah. And I've been up there before. When I used to go deer hunting with my friends, we'd always go to St. George.
I lived in St. George for a short amount of time.
Well, I would stop there, and then we would go to do our deer hunting up in Panguitch, Utah. Mm-hmm. That's not too far away. Well, I didn't hunt. I just went with them, but I was always carry a gun just in case, a wild animal or something attacked. But anyway, they were up there. I don't know what they were up there doing, smoking dope, drinking beer, a bunch of punks. And they said that they saw some guy with a dirt bike in the back of his pickup truck, and it wasn't locked. And their reasoning for stealing it was, well, you don't go around with a dirt bike in the back of your truck, not locked, not chained up where I'm from. So they felt obligated to steal this guy's dirt bike. Well, one guy gets caught, and instead of hauling ass back to fucking Vegas, the rest of them, they stay there in the fucking hotel they were staying at with the guy. And the guy obviously ratted him out, and they went back and got him. If they'd have gone back to fucking Vegas, they could have just says, hey man, he stole that motorcycle. We didn't have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But since they caught him there and then they confessed, he ended up going to jail. Now he's got a felony on his record.
I did my deer hunting in Wisconsin. My ex-husband, which was my husband at the time, took me out first time there. I went like 2 or 3 times, 2 or 3 seasons. And the first season, I didn't get nothing. Nothing showed up.
Did you live in Wisconsin?
Yes.
What part?
Trempealeau.
I don't know where that is.
Galesville, La Crosse.
Well, I see a lot of lacrosse on those cop shows. No, I was stationed in when I was in the Navy. I went to school at Great Lakes, which is the northeastern corner.
Well,
I used to go up and hang out in up in Kenosha, and go to that Alpine Valley for concerts and stuff.
Where Trempealeau and Galesville is La Crosse. La Crosse is about 6 miles from Trempealeau and that, and it's right on the border of Winona, Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
So that's where it's at. But the second year, I got me a little small 4-point. And the third year, I got me a 10-pointer.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I used to go. We'd one time when we was up in Northern California, and I went with a bunch of my buddies, and there was a campground down at the bottom, and the first night when we all met up, we stayed down there. And I was going to sleep in my car, but I slept in the back of this dude's pickup truck. And I made the mistake of, we had stopped and got a bucket of chicken on the way up there from Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah.
And we was up in Bridgeport, that it's up the other side of Lee Vining and up in there by Bodie Ghost Town.
Yeah.
Off of the 395. So anyway, I'm laying in the back of the truck, and I feel the truck moving, and I see this hairy arm reach over the back of the truck and grab the bucket of chicken. And at first, I thought it was my buddy's brother, because he's a big hairy guy,
Yeah.
And I suddenly realized, oh, that's not a
bear, huh?
It's a bear. Yeah.
That's a bear.
And the next day they're like, how stupid could you be to lay in the back of a truck with that fried chicken? If that bear hadn't have had a good sniffer on him, he might have reached up and clawed you thinking you were the chicken.
Very true.
That was a real fun trip. At one point, we went to meet up with my buddy, and right as we got to him, we heard a gunshot. And then we saw this deer, small, what do they call it, spike, run up and collapse right next to the road where we were at. So we stopped. And about this time, this 2 guys, they ran up and they go, yeah, man, I got him. That's my deer. And my buddy, now he comes up and he says, no, man, I got him. I blew his leg off, and he was missing a leg, So they were arguing about it, and I says, hey, man, let him have it. He goes, why? And I go, it's just a spike, man. You bagged a deer, and now you can go bag another one without having to get another tag. He goes, yeah, you're right. That's yours. You must have got it. Then all of a sudden they realized, they're like, no, it was yours. It was yours. And they're like, nah, we all witnessed this. We heard you. That's your deer. And we just got in the truck and hauled ass. And later that same day, we were walking on both sides of like a ravine. And down in the ravine, we saw those some bushes and stuff. We saw them moving, and we says, "Hey, man, that might be a deer." And so there was 4 of us. The other people that were, there was another guy and his buddy that he also wasn't a hunter, but he was carrying a rifle. And I was with my buddy. He was a hunter, and I was carrying a rifle too. And I says, "Okay, look, I'll go up the trail a little bit." And there was 2 ways that if I throw a rock into that bush, the deer's either going to take off down the ravine or he's going to go up one side or the other. So both guys were up there at the other end waiting, and the other guy that was with, he was down by like where I was. I says, "Hey, if he comes running it towards me, don't shoot, damn it, just let him go." So I throw the rock into the bush, and suddenly this big fucking black bear runs out of the bush and runs straight at my buddy. And he's only got a Mini 14, a Ruger Mini 14 ranch rifle.
Yep.
And that ain't gonna do no good against a fucking bear. I was carrying a 44-40. I might have taken the fucker out, but I wasn't going to shoot at him because I might have shot my buddy.
Mini 14 is a glorified 22.
Yeah, basically. Does have a lot of kick to it. You know, a lot of powder behind it. But well, he ended up taking down but that was funny as hell. That fucking bear ran right at him, and he just stood there frozen. And it just ran right past him like he wasn't there. You know, it's like, dude, you could have been mauled.
Yeah. The only big like wildlife like that besides deer I ever saw in real life was up in the mountains in South Dakota, the Black Hills. We were up there, and one of the mountain goats walked close to us, and we just froze. And we took a bunch of pictures, but we just let him do what he wanted. And he wasn't running. He'd look at us like, "Okay, what you doing?"
Yeah.
And then about a half hour he was there, and he finally moseyed off.
Shit, we were up, we rented bicycles up in Yosemite one time, and we were just sitting on the side of the road. And there's like a walkway, and then there's like 10 feet of grass, and then there's the roadway. And we were just sitting there in the grass and stuff, and I noticed something moving a few feet away from me in the bushes and stuff. And so it was laying right there next to the road, and the grass was kind of high. So I go over there to see it was, and there was a freaking like 10-point buck, like just taking a nap on the side of the road. And when I walked up, he just looked at me. He raised his head up a second, kind of looked at me, and just laid his head back down, went back to sleep.
I do have to say I did see buffalo, but that was in South Dakota at a buffalo ranch. I forget exactly what it's called, but these people raised buffalo.
Yeah, I rode a buffalo once. I got a picture of it in my scrapbook.
I've eaten buffalo. It's pretty good.
Oh yeah. I've had buffalo. I've had venison because my friends are all deer hunters.
Yeah.
I've had alligator.
I haven't had that.
Alligator's not bad. The alligator I had tastes like the way it was prepared and everything. It tastes like Swiss steak, like chicken fried steak. That's what it. That was the way they prepared it. It was like chicken fried steak.
Now I have had snapping turtle.
You've had what?
Pretty good. Snapping turtle.
Oh yeah.
They were pretty good. And I have had antelope.
Oh. When I was a kid in Oklahoma, we befriended this man that came to our gas station all the time, and he had this old beat up pickup truck, and he was always going behind the grocery store that was down the street from my parents' gas station, getting food to slop his hogs with and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's a real friendly guy, and he invited us out to his house one time. So we went out there, and the guy lives in a mansion. Now, he's got a farm behind it, but he lives in a mansion. He's got a beautiful brand new pickup truck sitting in the driveway that he goes to church and back in. But otherwise, he just drives this old beat up pickup truck. We meet his wife. His wife is, dressed like a freaking millionaire, like they do and stuff. And we go in, and she says, yeah, he wanted to barbecue up some squirrel and some other, whatever he's got there and thing. But I told him, I said, those people don't want to eat that crap. Just cook them up some steaks or some chicken or something, damn it.
I have had rabbit too.
Yes, I've had rabbit and I've had snake. I've had snake. And it was, snake to me was like greasy chicken.
Yeah, that's what my husband said too.
Closer to like duck, because duck is like greasy chicken.
Yeah, duck is very greasy.
Yeah, real greasy.
It also depends on how you cook it to get the grease out. It can turn out pretty good. Because I've had duck, and I got a friend of my ex-husband and mine had 3 goose, and they were, if we killed them, we could have them, and they were good like goose, and they had to cut their heads off.
I know guys that used to go to the city park, and they would lure the ducks out of the water with Doritos, and then bash their heads in and take them home and cook them.
No, but I found out one way. You get it and you skin it, and get the whole pelt, the flower, feathers, and everything, and part of the skin off. Then
We
you
were.
take.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
And I'm trying to think how I baked it. I put it in a pan, and I put a bunch of butter and salt and pepper on it, and I covered it with aluminum foil, and I put it in the oven at 350 for about 5-6 hours, and I basted it every hour, and it was not greasy.
Cool.
It was really
I wonder
good.
I wonder how it would be deep fried.
I don't know. I don't think it'd be good because it's already greasy.
Yeah.
Because a lot of deep fried stuff comes out greasy.
Well, when I deep fry a turkey, it doesn't come out greasy. It just comes out juicy. No.
Oh, that's cool.
Hell no. And you can drop a chicken down in there. You can drop a chicken down in that grease and cook it too, and it comes out real juicy. Well, come on, that's how they cook Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah, that's right.
We were supposed to. Guy lives across the street here. He's from Louisiana too, and last year, I think it was last year, he was supposed to go back and bring back a turducken. And we were going to try that turducken. You've heard of turducken, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
It's a turkey with a duck and a chicken shoved inside of it.
And what isn't it when you got the turkey and then you shove the duck and then you shove the chicken and don't you put a can of beer?
Yep, something like that. Yeah, I've never actually. I've heard of it, but I've never had it.
No, I've never had it, but that's what I've heard.
Yeah, it was real popular in Louisiana. Now, I have had the boudin, which is it's a sausage. So the first time I had it, I thought it was gross because I don't think it was cooked all the way. Because it had this kind of like stuffing in it, and it didn't seem like it was thoroughly cooked. So that was kind of gross. But then this other guy says, no, you just got bad boudin. And he says, we only get our boudin from Richard's. And Richard's is like, that's the, if you want meat in Louisiana, you go to Richard's. So he brought back some boudin and cooked it from Richard's. And I got to admit, it was good stuff.
Did you ever have venison sausage?
Yep, I've had venison sausage. I've had venison chops. I've had venison jerky.
know, out of all the venison, you know what I like the best? The heart.
Oh yeah.
I love the heart.
You know, when my buddies, they did that traditional thing to when they would kill a deer, they'd cut its heart out and take a bite of it.
See, my ex-husband didn't make me do that.
But you've heard that. You've heard of that before, haven't
you?
you?
Yeah. They say you're supposed to do that on your first kill or whatever.
Yeah.
But my ex-husband, we go out together, go separate ways, but we go out. And if I kill one, he'd come where I'm at, and he would gut it right there, because you can leave the guts there.
Mm-hmm.
Then he would get it loaded, and he'd get it back to where it was. And the only thing I had to do was shoot it. And he did everything else. He skinned it. Him and his buddy made all the different cuts on it and that.
Yeah,
So,
these guys would
really
get
nice.
they'd get their deer, they'd drag it back to camp, cut its legs off, because you got to cut its legs off or the meat gets spoiled by some kind of thing that's in their legs. And then they slit their throat, and then they pull out their thing, and then all that grass pours out of it. And then most of the time, they'd have the heads, they'd take them to a taxidermy place and have the heads done so they could mount them.
Now, we cut the legs off. I had a dog. Her name was Shadow. And she had a son named Puddles. And I take front legs, take it to them, and I give it to them. And oh my God, I give it to them, raw, and they ate it. Oh my God, could they skin that down? They knew when they seen our that.
Yeah, you have to cut the legs off like right away, or it'll do something to the meat.
Oh yeah, when they skin it, they cut the legs off and then they skin it out, and they take the legs home. Just the front legs, it didn't bother with the back legs. But
I think it's the back legs that have the gland in them or whatever that you have to make sure you cut that off, or it will it'll ruin the meat if you leave it on there.
But I take it home, and of course they'd see me dress up in the orange, so they know where I was going. So I bring them legs back to them, and boy, they knew what was in that plastic bag I had.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When we first moved up to Lancaster, we had two dogs we brought up there with us, and then people would drop their dogs off, stray dogs out there, and they would just come over to our house and eat. So we'd more or less okay, they're our dogs, I guess, more or less. They used to go out and kill sheep and eat them.
Yeah.
It's like, damn. Yeah, they're vicious suckers. One of the dogs we brought out there was a large poodle, and it got to be it got to be really vicious. I mean, I couldn't even, when it was a puppy, it slept with me and stuff, but as it got older, it got so bad where I could pet it, but if I messed with it, it would growl at me and try to bite me and shit. It's like, well, it wouldn't try too hard, but it would
Yeah.
And that dog got to be so vicious that what it would do is it would go out and infiltrate the sheep, and then it would steer one off over to where the other dogs were, and the other dogs would attack it. And we always had those sheep herder people, the Basque sheep herders. They'd always have their little camping trailer out there.
Yeah.
And the guy came over one time, and I think I shot your dog. It's like, yeah. He goes, yeah, he was attacking the sheep. I says, hey, man, you're just doing your job. Dogs shouldn't have went over there eating sheep. We feed them dog food. We don't know why they go out and kill.
I know. We lived in Ruth, Nevada, and Ely, Nevada was where the prison was that I worked. But that was about, I want to say about 11 miles between Ely and Ruth, and we lived in Ruth. And whenever the dog catcher would catch dogs in Ely, he'd bring them out to Ruth and just drop them off. So that's how I got Shadow. She came to my house for some reason. And the kids came to me and said, Mom, there's a dog sitting up on the porch. Well, I thought it was my Akita whiskey. So I go open the door, and there she is sitting up. Like, I'm here, can I come in? Well, I'm such a me, you know. I took her in. She was obedient trained. She was housebroken. She was the best dog. So I decided, I'll put up flyers to see if anybody wants to claim her because she's too well. She was too well taken care of. She wasn't skinny. She was nice size and everything. So, but nobody came forward and owned her. So I kept her.
Cool.
She was a great dog. I could take and hand her an egg in shell, and she could pop that egg shell to put just enough big hole that she could basically suck the egg
out of it.
Yeah, she was my egg sucker.
Yeah, my grandfather lived up in Ely for a while. I'm trying to see the closest I've ever been is either Vegas or Winnemucca, Nevada.
Yeah, no, yeah. Like I said, Ruth is about 11 miles or so from Ely.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on Google Maps. Actually, I think the closest I've ever been is probably been over there by Mammoth Lakes.
Okay. Ely's is a nice town. Like the bar and that, an old time bar, and old buildings for different.
Yeah, I lived out in the boonies in Oregon for a while. I didn't care too much for it.
But Ely was very nice, and so was Ruth. There wasn't really much in Ruth except a bar. You had to drive to Ely if you wanted to get gas or groceries and that. But yeah, back behind us in Ruth, we called our backyard a big copper mines. So you come across the big gigantic holes. And we'd walk out there, and I forgot to tell you, I had seen something else. I was out there walking around, and I stopped. I seen this crow kind of just moving along. And up over a hill came a mountain lion.
Oh boy!
I have no gun, no nothing on me. My vehicle is about 50 feet behind me. So I just stand there real still. Don't get a panic in me because they can smell that fear.
Right.
I just kind of watched him. That's all I did. I just watched him. He was trying to go out. I don't know if the crow was injured because he wouldn't take off. It just kept hopping along. And he's following this crow, and I said, okay, keep busy with the crow. And I started slowly going backwards, really slow. And he kept going. Then the crow went over the edge. Mountain lion went over the edge. I think I hit my car in 2 seconds left.
And you went to your vehicle.
Yeah, I had a Jeep Wagoneer. What? And I turned around when that mountain lion disappeared. 2 seconds, I was at my vehicle.
Well, right after we had a flash flood in when I was living up in Lancaster when we first moved up there in the late 70s. Right after a flash flood, most of my family had gone to the movies, and I'd been out partying and shit, and I came home and I was watching TV, and my parents had a triple wide mobile home, and then my brother lived in a big house next door, and then I lived in a I guess it was a barn at one time, and it had been converted into, there was like an office of some kind in it, and then there was a tool room, and then there was an area in the middle that was just like a storage place. But I basically had this office. It was like a little apartment. And also where the washer and dryer was, which came in handy because I could rig the dryer with the door open, but it would run and it would produce enough heat to heat my room because I didn't have a heater in there. So it would produce enough heat and there was a big swamp cooler in there, so it stayed plenty cool in the summertime, and then got a little bit of heat in the wintertime. And it had a deep sink in there and stuff. And if it was wintertime and it was really cold and I had to pee in the middle of the night, I just peed in the sink. But I was in the house watching TV this one night, and it was like 11:30 at night because I was watching one of the TV shows that would come on after the news. It was like Starsky and Hutch or something, I don't remember. And my mom comes out and says, "Hey, I thought I heard somebody messing around behind the shed. I thought I heard a motorcycle. You know, it sounded like somebody."
Hi, Prince.
He said, she says, I think I hear somebody messing with your brother's motorcycle. Bye, Prince. So anyway, I go outside, and the first thing that I thought was really weird was we've got one of those big farm lights, you know, and usually by the time you get to the back door, the dogs hear you and they figure, hey, we're getting some food. So they'll be waiting right out that door for you.
Yeah.
The dogs weren't there. They were all hiding underneath the farm light.
Okay.
And I was like, that's weird because they never do that. And it was all the dogs. They were huddled together under the farm light. And it wasn't particularly cold out because I was out running around in a pair of cutoffs, you know. I didn't have no shoes, no shirt, no nothing, you know.
Yeah.
And where I can see to the back of the property, and I didn't see nothing out there. And my car was parked right up against the fence, and I started to go walk towards my car, and I heard this. And I said, what the fuck? I run back to the house, grabbed my dad's shotgun, ran back out to the front of the house. And it's like, well, shit. I run out to the front of the house, and I was thinking about getting in my car and driving around to the back. And then I realized, no, my car's parked back there, wherever the hell whatever growled at me is. So about that time, my family showed up, my brother, my dad, my brother's wife, and his kids. They showed up, and I told them something growled at me over there, and I wanted to go see what it was. So my dad drove me around there, and we never did figure out what it was and anything. But at the time, there'd been a flash flood had run through there recently. Now, supposedly, there had been Bigfoot sightings in the area. And I said, I don't know what that was, but it was pretty intense. And there was a rumor going around that a Bigfoot was trying to steal a pig from my next door neighbor. There was a big alfalfa farm, and the guy had a little bit of livestock. And supposedly a Bigfoot tried to steal his pig, and he went out there and shot in the air, and the Bigfoot dropped the pig and took off running. Yeah. So I went over there and I says, hey, man, I heard a story that, he goes, oh, yeah, that story's been going around. He goes, no, he goes, I'll tell you the real truth, though. He goes, the last flash flood we had, he goes, I shot a freaking mountain lion. It must have come down in the flash flood. It was trying to make its way back over the mountains and killed one of my pigs. He goes, but I killed it. And I asked when it happened, and it was the night after the thing growled at me. So, considering how close it was, the thing that growled at me was probably that freaking mountain lion. And that's that would explain why the dogs were hiding too, because they knew that mountain lion was around. They were scared of it.
Well, my dad's brother lived in Longview, Washington, and when I was younger, we went up there and they had a cabin. And we were sitting, and there was such a blood curdling scream. All the animals they had dead silent. You could hear this thing scream. I mean, you said blood curdling, but it's still, you'd have to hear it to really know the sound of it. I'll tell you what, that they scared the shit out of it. And they told us that there is Bigfoot up there. So, I'm sure there might be. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
You'd
That's
think
just like the abominable snowman.
you'd think if there was really a Bigfoot, you'd think by now somebody would at least have found like a Bigfoot carcass or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the other
Bigfoot
Bigfoot, when Bigfoot dies, the other Bigfoot find his body and bury it so nobody will find it.
Bigfoot has always fascinated me.
Yeah,
But
it
there-
is. It's fascinating for sure.
A little spot in the back of my mind, like, nah, it can't be real. But after I heard that scream,
How come it is
just
with
a little bit more.
how come it is that all of these sightings and stuff, and nobody ever really gets a clear picture of it? Every time a
What?
Bigfoot is sighted, nobody ever gets like a real good picture of it. And
Why
that's
do they never follow it?
yeah. And that one, the most famous one, the Patterson film, where that one, that looks so fake to me.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
obviously just a dude walking in a fucking gorilla suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, if I came across a Bigfoot and I got one picture and it was running away, you bet me I'd follow that son of a bitch. I want to get close, but I'm going to follow him.
Yeah, I'd
He's
be like,
going to stop running sooner or later.
I'd be like, easy, big fella, easy, big fella. Here, would you like a
Like that.
would you like
Yeah,
a
you want a
Snickers? Would you like a Snickers?
But that's what I would do. I mean, yeah, it would be scary, but I'd make sure I follow it and got some good damn pictures.
Well, after that incident with that thing that scared the shit out of me that one time, my brother moved into he moved down into the San Fernando Valley, and me and my other brother were staying in his house there in Lancaster, and one night we heard something off in the distance, and it was like grunting sound. Arr, arr, arr. It's like, what the fuck is that? Arr. It's like, we didn't have any guns or anything, it's like, what are we going to do? It's like, if I'm not going to go out there and look for whatever this thing is, but that's a trip. We were sitting out on the front porch listening to it, and you could tell it was like moving and stuff.
Yeah.
And in the middle of the night, I start hearing these sounds, and it's close. Whatever it is, it's close by. So I go outside and I look, and over in the field next to my parents' house, I see what looks like a bear, and I'm like, holy shit, there's a fucking bear outside. It's like, what would a bear be doing in the middle of the fucking desert? I don't know,
really.
but there's a bear over in the field. And by the time I got woke up and everything, there was a whole bunch of bears, except they weren't bears. They were just some stray cows that got out. But when I saw it in the field, the grass was so high, I couldn't tell what it was. I was half asleep, So, yeah. So then my brother started making fun of me, saying that they was bears in cow suits.
You ever heard at night a kangaroo rat?
Oh, I've been around kangaroo
Have you
rats.
heard them suckers scream?
No, I
They're
can't.
loud.
Yeah.
Oh man, for such little guys there.
Now
they're
I've been out in the desert. We used to go fishing on the California Aqueduct all the time,
loud.
and we'd be out fishing on the aqueduct, and not too far away from us, you would hear like a shitload of coyotes. And when they make noises, it sounds like a woman screaming. And we were fishing along this bridge, and there was these other people. They were fishing on the aqueduct just a little bit farther down, just on the shore. And so we were just fishing off the bridge, and we heard all these coyotes raising hell, and they couldn't have been that far away from where those other people were at.
Yeah.
And a little while later, we heard a whole pack of coyotes a couple miles away, and they were on the opposite side of the aqueduct from where those people were. So we started making racket and shit, and the ones that were behind us were still there, and they started making racket, and those people grabbed all their fishing gear and shit and went back to their car, and they drove by, and they're all, "Thanks a lot, assholes."
Really
I guess
weird one. Go ahead.
The guy's wife was, she didn't like all that screaming, and even though coyotes are timid, but if there are enough of them in a pack, they might mess with a human being.
Yeah. Real weird one to hear in the middle of the night when you can't see nothing. It's a fox.
Yeah.
I mean, they have just something distinct that a lot of people wonder what the hell it is, but it's just a fox.
Hey, I can tell you a real good story. I was up. I just bought this 4-wheel drive Chevy Blazer, and I immediately got it stuck in a mud hole up at this Little Rock Dam. I don't know if you know where that is. It's up by Palmdale.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the time, there was barely any water in the dam, and there was a lot of mud, and everybody was wheeling their 4-wheel drives in the mud. And I get my truck immediately stuck in the mud up to the frame.
No.
I got 2 trucks tried to pull me out. They could not budge my truck. It was stuck. Now, it was dry on both sides of this mud hole that I drove into, but when I got out of my truck, I had mud up to my waist, and then I could barely get out of the hole I was in. So after we realized we weren't going to be able to, nobody there was going to be able to pull the thing out, I got the bright idea I'd go back to my work, and at my work, we had a 5-ton flatbed truck. So we get my buddy's family back home. Well, somebody got a ride to the house. They came back with my buddy's wife came back with his pickup truck, picked us up, dropped his wife back at the house with the kids, and then we went over to my work, locked his pickup truck inside I worked at a recycling center, locked his pickup truck into the recycling center, and I had access to the keys to the trucks. I got the 5-ton truck, and I grabbed this big old ropes that we had that we used to tie the stuff down on the trucks, where they're like the big ropes like tie a ship up with, they were huge. I said, this thing won't break, man. We'll get that truck out of the mud. So we get back down there, and now it's about 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And I says, well, I think it'll be easier if you pull it out forward. So I backed the truck up to where I want it to be. My buddy's tying the rope to the back of the 1-ton truck. I wade out in the mud, tie the rope up to the front of my Blazer, and I'm about to get inside. My buddy's still standing there, and we hear this ungodly noise. It was obviously a bird of some kind. Mm-hmm. You hear this bird screaming. Then you hear something come tumbling down the side of the mountain, and then you hear the bird just let out a noise like, obviously it had just gotten killed by whatever that was that came running down the side of the mountain.
Yeah.
And this is not very far away from us. So my buddy, he unties the rope off the back of the truck, and he's going to drive away. And so now I'm in all I got to protect me is a Chevy Blazer with no roof on it. But the mud was up to my waist, so something trying to get out there to get at me would be kind of hard, But I managed to flag him down, and I got him to pull behind where I was at because whatever it was to get to us would have had to gone through a lot more mud than where it was in the front because it could just run straight at us. So I got him calmed down enough where he pulled the truck out backwards. And as soon as he got my truck out of the mud hole it was stuffed in, he untied the rope and he drove up to the top of the dam and stopped. I throw the old muddy rope in the back of my Blazer, get my Blazer out of there, drive up to meet him, and he's still totally freaked out by whatever that was making that noise. So we take one of my off-road lights and aim it over on the side of the thing, and standing right on the shore, and it couldn't have been more than a couple 100 feet away from where we were at, is a big cat. And in the light, it looked like it was black. And I said, well, I've never heard of a black mountain lion. I think it's probably just a mountain lion, and it just looks black because, as far away as it is and stuff.
Yeah.
And so we put the light back on, and we're driving out. And by the time we get to the entrance, there's a ranger down there. So we decided to tell him, hey, he recognized my truck. He goes, oh, you finally got that thing out of the mud, huh? I said, yeah, I took that big truck to drag it out. And he says, I says, hey, man, while we were down there, man, we heard something attack a bird. And we shined the light over on the side, and it goes, it looked like a big black cat. I mean, not a kitty cat. I'm talking about mountain lion, something like that, a huge feline. And he says, well, just a few miles away from there is an animal, big cat rescue thing where they got lions, tigers, panthers, all kinds of stuff. And it's owned by Tippi Hedren, she was in the movie The Birds. It's called Shangri-La. It's an animal thing.
Yeah.
And he said, well, last time they had flash floods come through there, a black panther escaped into the mountains. And people had said that they had seen it in the back part of the dam recently. And he said, you probably saw that black panther here. And he goes, we're going to have to do something about that. I never did hear any more about it, but he said, if he goes, that could have very well been that black panther. You boys are lucky that thing didn't decide to eat you. It's like, no kidding. Yeah, we wouldn't have stood a chance against that damn thing. The other truck didn't have any windows in it, so that it had a windshield, and the back was covered, of course, but it didn't have any side windows in it, so my buddy was kind of unprotected. And like I said, I was driving basically a convertible. I didn't even have a roof on my car at all. So I'd have been, the only thing that would have saved me was I was in that deep mud, and I don't think a panther would have jumped out in that mud that would have drowned in to try to get at me.
Yeah, true.
But of course, it could have probably jumped from the shore into my Blazer to eat me if it wanted to.
I've always liked panthers. That is one of my favorite animals.
When we first moved up to Lancaster, my brother got a thing from the unemployment office. They were hiring people at that Shangri-La. And so we went down there, and there was about 100 people there. And they said, we'll hire anybody that wants to stay. He goes, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be rebuilding these enclosures, these animal enclosures. And we're going to warn you right now, there is wild cats that have escaped because their enclosures, a flash flood came and tore some of their enclosures open, and they have escaped.
Yeah.
And why we're in there talking to them, and they're telling us, hey, look, if it comes at you and stuff, just kind of stand your ground. Don't look at it. Don't look at it in the eye, and just kind of stay there. And there's all kinds of people around that are armed and everything else. They don't want to have to shoot the animals, but you know, and the lady says, you know, I don't want to have to shoot the animals, but I will rather than see a human being get hurt. So I thought, okay. About that time, we hear all hell breaking loose. Boom, 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 boom. Shotguns going off and stuff. And so we walk outside, and this guy was working on an enclosure for a lion, and the lion came back to his enclosure, and the sheriff's department had to blow it away. And at that point right there, I think about 75 at least people got in their cars and left, and we were among them. Says, yeah, I don't need the money that bad.
In Vegas, about Christmas time, they're doing construction on the road, so they got a big, gigantic ditch dug. And I'm going to my therapist, so I mean, my mind wasn't paying attention, but look like I went to go. I went to go, started to go. My front wheels all the way up, buried in cement.
Oh.
My front bumper stopped me from going, nose first. It hit the other side. Well, right then I lost it. I just started crying. I was a mess. Cops came by and said that, I said, where are the things to block the road off? Where are any signs? There's nothing around there. It was wide open. And if you looked at it from further back, it looked like the road.
Yeah.
Well, the cop would tell me that they could call a tow truck, okay? But I'd have to pay for it. I'm like, no, I don't have that money. It's like $45 to pull it out. So I don't have that money. I'm late for my appointment, and I just lost it again. He said, hold on a second. Well, the tow truck driver got there. Him and the tow truck driver went and talked to, I guess it was the supervisor of that was doing the construction. Well, they come back and said, well, we got a Christmas present for you. We'll pull your car out for you. And they did it for free. The only reason why they did is because they knew there was no signs. And I could have pushed this further, but I didn't. That's why they pulled me out for free.
What did that do to your car, though?
I got home and told my husband to come up like that, and my tires were just full of cement. Well, he took it and washed it off, and nothing happened to it.
Oh, he managed to get it off before it hardened?
Yeah, he was able to get that off.
Well, I had something kind of similar happen to me, but I didn't run in any cement. I had a couple of my buddies in the car. I was 17 years old. I got some buddies of mine in the car. We're ripping up this back road to this lake in Simi Valley. And I get up around this corner, and there's a bulldozer sitting across the road in front of me. Now, there was those barricade things with the flashing lights.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody had stolen the flashing lights off of the ones on the way up there to warn you that you were coming up to something. So next thing I know, I'm doing 70 miles an hour, and there's a freaking bulldozer in front of me. And I didn't want to hit it head first. We weren't even wearing seatbelts or nothing. I don't think my car had seatbelts in it. It was an old car. So I spun it around, and I missed the bulldozer completely. And I couldn't believe that I actually managed to stop the damn car before I hit the bulldozer. But that was a freaky thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, we took, there was a couple of the flashing light things that were actually directly in front of the bulldozer. So we took one of them and walked down the road and put it in the middle of the road before you got to that corner, so that somebody would come up to that and they'd see that thing in the real. There should have been, even if somebody did steal, with the flashing lights off the things and stuff, which I figure that's what happened. There should have been more barricades up there warning you before that even happened anyway.
Yeah. Just like that area, I mean, there was nothing.
Yeah, I mean, this thing was sitting, blocking the road completely. You could not get past it. There should have been barricades before that.
I bet you if I pushed it, I bet you I got a brand new car out of it. But, I didn't want, my brain was not working well.
Well, if I'd have hit that bulldozer with my car that I paid $25 for, they probably wouldn't have given me much for it. And I was 17 years old and I was drunk. So it wouldn't have worked out well for me if I would have hit the bulldozer.
No.
I mean, they wouldn't have been able to sue me or anything, but well, actually they could have tried to sue my parents, I guess, but it really wasn't my fault.
Your car wouldn't have made a scratch on that
No,
bulldozer.
it would have totaled my poor $25 car.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, my first car I bought at a garage sale for $25. The guy thought the transmission had gone out in it, and he had started parting it out, and he'd sold the wheels and tires and the bumpers off of it. And my brother's a pretty good mechanic. He looked underneath the car and he says, "Hey, I'll give him the $25 for the car if you want it, and we can come back with a set of tires and get it out of here." And so I said, "Yeah, man, I'd love, I'm sure, fucking, it's a car, I'll take it."
Yeah.
So we took the tires off of his car, got it back to my parents' house, put the tires back on his car. It wasn't his daily driver. It was he had an old 1950 Plymouth, but it had the same bolt. Fords and Plymouths have the same bolt pattern, and it was a Ford.
Yeah.
So we got the thing home. Oh, and when we got around the corner, my brother says, "Hey, hang on a minute." He crawls underneath the car, and there's a vacuum line had coming off the transmission. And once he hooked that vacuum line back up, the transmission worked fine. That was the only thing that was wrong with the car. But he got me a set of tires for it that night when he went to work. He got a set of tires for it, and from one of his work buddies. And I drove it for a while, but I got a whole bunch of tickets because it's illegal to drive a car in the state of California without bumpers on it.
Yeah.
So I got a whole bunch of tickets on it. We moved up to the Antelope Valley. I knew I couldn't take it with me, so I sold it to this buddy of mine for $100. And I went to court. My dad had to go to court with me because I was a minor. And the judge says, "Hey, didn't I tell you to junk that car out?" I said, "Yeah, but my buddy gave me $100 for it. The junkyard wasn't going to give me nothing." He goes, "Well, I wanted you to junk it out because it's, you shouldn't be driving that piece of shit on the street." He says, "But because you're a minor, I'm going to let it slide. I'm not going to punish your dad because you didn't follow my instructions." He goes, you got the release of liability and everything. You got rid of the car. There's nothing you can do about it now anyway. So he just, wrote it off. Said, "Okay, you're done." And my buddy, he goes, "You tell your buddy that you sold that car to, when he shows up here like you did with all them tickets, he's going to take it to the junkyard." I says, "Okay, all right, I'll warn him." So I told him, and my buddy just kind of laughed. And he actually got somehow he got a front bumper for it.
Yeah.
And but he still ended up getting a whole bunch of tickets in it. And he went to the judge and he says, "Oh, I recognize that." He goes, "You bought that off that one guy." And he says, "Did he tell you what I said?" He says, "Yes." And he says, "So you're going to take it down to the junkyard?" And he goes, "Yes." He says, "Okay." He goes, "I'll dismiss all these tickets if you come back with proof that you took it to the junkyard." So he took it to the junkyard.
Well, I gotta cut this because I gotta get my dogs out and that. So.
Okie doke. I guess we're
an
probably
hour and a half. So, Thanks for coming up, Gator. Yeah.
Let's see, we're the only
We had
people on
fun
here.
with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
oh, that sex chat thing came back in, huh?
Yeah, I blocked it. But yeah, thank you for coming up.
Oh, no problem.
You just
Let's see,
had a
Prince
bullshit
Jedi.
section.
Prince Jedi said, "Greet, nice meeting you, Gator. Tawny, I will be posting again tomorrow. Invite Gator. Does he have a channel?
He does.
Okay. Well, you can send
I'll
it to
send
me
you.
through the
Yeah, I'll
Discord.
send you a link. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do
All right. Well, I'll talk to you later then.
All right. Bye, bye, Gator.
Bye.
Bye, bye.